Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another post-fight discussion video. All right, y'all, let's talk boxing last night. Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter. All right, y'all, man. First off, I have to say this. I did see a stoppage in this fight going in Terence Crawford's favor. You know, my pick was Terence Crawford by decision or late round stoppage. You know, I knew Terence Crawford had the boxing ability to, figure out Shawn Porter at some point after some uncomfortable moments, the way it played out. But eventually I thought that Terence Crawford, he was going to start picking Shawn apart with his much more precise, sharp counter punching. And eventually Shawn Porter was going to walk into something that would have cost him the fight. I talked about this a few months back when I said that if Adrian Broner could drop in the fashion that he did, you know that an accurate puncher that's going to let his hands go throughout round after round after round, like Terence Crawford, he'll eventually break Shawn Porter with one of these counter punches. You know what I mean? He lets his hands go. So what Broner did in one round, I knew Terence Crawford was eventually going to do and possibly keep Shawn Porter down or get his corner to stop it on a legit stoppage, right? But I did not see the fight being stopped in this fashion. I really did not see it being stopped in this fashion because, in my opinion, I thought Shawn Porter, he was fighting a very good fight. You know, he was fighting his fight, very rough and ugly, of course. But, I definitely thought that the fight was up for grabs. It was definitely going in Terence Crawford's favor, but we still had the championship rounds, and I just don't think that was fair of Kenny Porter to stop this fight before we even got to the championship rounds when his son was still coherent. He was still going. He was still focused. He was amping up. In my opinion, I thought he was amping up after that second knockdown. I was shocked. I was really shocked at this level of a fight. You just don't stop it like that. That's just my opinion. I know that's his son, but still, like, I did not see this point coming. Again, Terence Crawford, I give him all the credit because he boxed well, but Shawn Porter was really giving him a welcome into the welterweight division, in my opinion. I think this was Terence Crawford, definitely his toughest fight, which I knew it would be, but he was really welcoming Terence Crawford into the welterweight division. So I think that Terence Crawford really needed a legit stoppage or to let the fight go into a decision like it was going to. I think that Terence Crawford was picking up and he was doing beautiful work in the mid part of the fight, but Shawn Porter was still fighting his fight early in the fight and on until now. So I just wanted to see Shawn at this point finish on heart or even, get an upset win if he could, So I just don't think that was a fair stoppage. It was a good fight, just a bad stoppage. I hate the fact that a stoppage can just put a bad taste in your mouth when a fight is going just the way you want it to go. This was a boxer versus pressure fighter. Early on in this fight, I think Shawn Porter, he was giving Terence Crawford these different looks, kind of like he did Errol Spence with the boxing and the pressure. The thing is, I think the pressure fighting was kind of throwing Shawn Porter, it was throwing Terence Crawford off. Terence didn't really know how to set the rhythm with his jab. The jab was a punch he was really ignoring early in the fight, even from the southpaw stance. He was really looking for a lot of counter punches, hoping he could catch Shawn on the way in. But Shawn would sometimes stutter step and then just go back on the outside and start boxing. And then Shawn would come over the top with his jab and crack Terence Crawford, then come over the top with the overhand right and kind of knock Terence Crawford off balance. Of course, Terence Crawford, by rounds 4, I would say rounds 4 and 5, Terence he started to pick it up a little bit more. And on the inside, he was landing some nice uppercuts and hooks. So every time Shawn Porter would step in with these barrages, he was coming in with the cleaner, sharper punches. And that's what I expected from Terence. Terence is a sharp, stinging, precise puncher. He really devotes his level in his career to sharp, accurate punching. And that's why his punches sting so much. And that's why they break guys. I have to give him credit on that. But I think that early in the fight, it was really, really competitive. It was back and forth. Shawn's work rate and Shawn's pressure was giving Terence a very, very rough start. It was a very rough rhythm. There was body shots here from both fighters. I think Andre Ward, he had it right on his card, in my opinion. It was give and take. Andre Ward actually had Shawn Porter ahead at I think up to round 6 and 7. To me, I think Terence had tied it up, I'd say, by round 6. I had it 3-3 by round 6, honestly. I think Terence started to box more, and it was always like a give and take round. Shawn would win one round, then Terence, he would come in and box more. Then Shawn would come back his round, then he would take the next round off. So that's where Terence would box more, and he would clinch more, and he would kind of wear Shawn down on the inside. But in that mid part of the fight, Shawn was still kind of fighting at the same pace. And this is where Terence started to come on a little bit more. Like Terence started to stand his ground a little bit more, sit on his shots. There was a time where he just started slipping and landing uppercuts and hooks as Shawn tried to dip and duck his head, but he was still catching Shawn with these punches, you know? So when Terence started to stand his ground a little bit more, he started to hit him with sharper punches here and catch him with those body shots as he was stepping in. They started to make Shawn gas a little bit. But did Shawn stop? No, Shawn still kept coming. It was a clash of heads in this fight. That was the only thing that came from cuts. And I think those headbutts on both sides kind of they kind of rattled both guys here. But I think that Terence, he was ready to go. He was, after that last time he got hit, he caught a headbutt. It just kind of amped him up to want to fight harder and try to get Shawn out of there. And that's why he started throwing the jab more in rounds 7 and 8. He started firing off more jabs to keep Shawn honest and keep him on the outside. Up to round 9, I did have it going Terence Crawford's way more here. He's still getting hit with some shots, but his body shots and his uppercuts up the middle were just starting to take the wind out of Shawn Porter. Going into round 10, this is where I was looking at Shawn. I wanted to see if he was going to come in here and amp it up, and he rushed in. I thought he was going to make an adjustment, but he rushed in, similar to how he did to Adrian Broner. He came rushing in, and Terence turned a good angle and caught him, with a good left uppercut and dropped him, and that did kind of buzz Shawn Porter, but he got back up, got caught with another combination, got dropped again. And this is where Shawn Porter, he was kind of like hitting the canvas, and it was like he was pissed at himself, like he wanted to erase that, and he wanted to do better, right? It was like a mistake, stupid mistake. He knew he made a stupid mistake, and I thought he was about to get back up and go back in, and what happens? Kenny Porter steps up in the corner and waves it off, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like, what is going on, man? Like, we're about to get in the championship rounds. Shawn looks like he's trying to find himself now, and he wants to try to win. But Terence Bud Crawford scored a 10th round TKO over Shawn Porter. In my opinion, like I said, it was a bad stoppage, but I have to give it to Terence Crawford because he was turning the fight in his favor. It wasn't his fault. I think he was doing what he was supposed to do in the later part of the fight. Of course, he's not to blame here. Shawn is not to blame. Shawn is not to blame. But Kenny Porter, taking it into his hands. I know that's his son, but just taking it in his hands to not give his son a chance in the championship rounds, I think that was just kind of like a messed up thing to do, especially whenever Shawn Porter's still coherent. He's not busted up. He's not confused. He's not about to say no mas. He's not like just off in Wonderland. Like he doesn't have that 1,000-yard stare where it's just like looking at the clock and he's just hoping to get out of there. He's still there. He's still throwing punches. He's still outworking Terence Crawford at times. He's still giving Terence Crawford a rough fight. So I just think he was denied that chance to come back and do something big in 11 and 12. Everybody knows that, when a guy starts to lose wind like that and the boxer comes on stronger in like round 10, and the boxer's probably going to win, right? Like somebody of Terence Crawford's caliber, his IQ gets higher in 11 and 12. The only thing he knows how to do is win, right? That's expected, but you never know. You never know. This is boxing. So a guy like Shawn Porter, he should have been able to get that chance to continue on, man. Like, my thoughts on the fight, good fight. Good fight. It was playing out the way I thought it would. Good pressure fighter versus boxer, but stoppage, oh, that was just a bad stoppage, man. But if you thought the stoppage was bad, if you could live with the stoppage, okay. But the one thing I think was worse than the stoppage was the fact that Kenny Porter said that, he had his Shawn Porter's preparation was to blame about this whole fight. Like, he stopped it because of his son's preparation. I was like, oh, wow. If that was the case, why didn't you just push the fight back? Make an excuse behind the scenes and say, oh, my son tested positive and the fight's off, or, oh, my son got injured, we're calling the fight off. I know there's a lot of money on this, but at the same time, it's like, why would you put your son on blast like that in front of millions of people now? Like, your son's preparation was to blame. Your son was doing just fine, in my opinion. Andre Ward had him up on the cards. Even if he lost, he was doing damn good for, a guy who didn't prepare the way you felt he should have prepared. I mean, come on, like, your son has been doing this for years, and your son for years too, okay? But Shawn has been in the ring taking this punishment, so Shawn knows if there's something he lacks in there, he's going to have to make up for it with something else, whether plan B or plan C, or suffer the consequences, right? And that's how it should go in boxing. Like with Deontay Wilder, if he doesn't prepare to be, a distance fighter at some point, or if he doesn't, do the road work, he's going to have to do something to compensate for it or suffer the consequences. And what happened in his fight, right? What happened with Deontay Wilder? So Shawn Porter, same thing. If he didn't prepare this the way he thought he should have, okay, well, he's going to have to suffer the consequences, or he's going to have to do something that, he's been doing for years, dig deep, which he's been here before time and time again. Danny Garcia, Ugas, Keith Thurman, Kell Brook, Adrian Broner. I was just trying to, Adrian Broner, he got knocked down in that fight. He was able to come back. Errol Spence knocked him down. He was able to amp up and come back. Remember, Errol Spence dropped him and he was like waving Errol on, like he was hyping himself up to go back in, and then came back strong in the 11th round. So I don't know, man. I just thought it was a bad stoppage, and that was just a bad excuse to say that your son didn't prepare right. I mean, if he didn't, okay, fine. Save it for after the fight. You know what I mean? Like after the fight, if he won or lost, you could just say, oh, we didn't do the right things. But we made it through. But instead, you just say that he didn't prepare the way you wanted him to. So what were y'all doing this whole time? I mean, on blood, sweat, and tears, and throughout these camps, like, what he wasn't doing? Like, were you supposed to just step aside and let him train with somebody else then? That's my question. Like, if you can't get him to train right after all these years, then whose problem is it at this point? You know what I mean? Like, if y'all don't have that relationship that we think you do, I mean, they sell it good, though. They sell it good, like on Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I thought everything was good. He was really getting through to his son. But now the excuse is that preparation was the factor in Shawn Porter having to be stopped. That was just a bad excuse, because everything Shawn was doing looked like Shawn Porter of old, like we seen how he did to Garcia, how he would do to Errol Spence, or how he did to Keith Thurman. Shawn Porter was going through those motions. But the thing is, Terence Crawford was just a better boxer, so Terence Crawford was able to expose those holes, and Terence Crawford was possibly on his way to stopping Shawn Porter in more of a dominant fashion, or maybe just winning a decision, or Shawn Porter could have won a decision, so you can never know just off of, somebody just getting up off the canvas and then just saying, oh, we're going to stop, getting dropped twice and then just say, oh, no, we're going to stop it, so it was a crazy stoppage. I mean, I give Terence Crawford full credit with his boxing ability, how he's able to handle Shawn Porter. I just didn't like the stoppage. But moving on from here, I was kind of with Errol Spence, him walking out and just feeling like that stoppage wasn't legit. He was like, I saw his Twitter. He was like, they must have paid his daddy. I was like, wow. Or no. He said Shawn Porter shouldn't pay his dad. I was like, yeah, okay. He said Shawn Porter shouldn't pay his dad. I was like, wow. But right now, man, it's done. Terence Crawford's been welcomed into the welterweight division with this fight. And all roads lead to Spence Crawford now. All roads lead to Spence Crawford. That's the fight that needs to happen. Styles make fights with fighters. And off of this win, I'm not going to say that, okay, Terence Crawford, he's going to wash Errol Spence, or, this win was better. I still have to say Errol Spence, I'm going to do another video on this, but I still think Errol Spence is the #1 welterweight. He's already been there, done that, still has the better resume at 147, has 2 belts. I just can't go off of somebody with a knockout streak, because the knockout streak aren't the best opponents. Terence Crawford is definitely #2, though. He's right. He's homing in on #1, though. That's why this fight has to happen. We have to decide who is the best. Too many belts around. Time to unify and decide who is the best at 147. So, yeah, guys, that's all I got on this one. I just wanted to come back and talk about the fight as a whole. I might just watch it again and revisit this discussion. But that's just my thoughts. I thought it was a good fight, good boxing performance from Terence Crawford, good heart and pressure fighting from Shawn Porter. I just think he was denied the championship rounds, and he was just denied a chance to go in there and try to pull off an upset. Yeah, but from here, Spence Crawford needs to happen. They need to do whatever they need to do to make this happen in 2022. It's on, Battle of the Undefeateds, unification for welterweight supremacy. Combo Breaker 99, I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.